Good morning, foxes and badgers. We are going to be doing Worst Witch for our reading today. Now, just like Wednesday, on the website you will find this video. There is also the extract for you to read before we start. Have a go, see if you can read it yourself and have a think about what is happening, and then you can follow along with me as well. And there is also a PowerPoint with some questions on for you to have a go at. Thank you to all of the children who've already sent me in the answers to their questions. It's lovely for me to then have a look at those and I can give you some feedback on how you have done. Before we start reading today, I would like you to have a think about the title of the story. The title of the story is The Worst Witch. Why do you think it's called The Worst Witch? And what do you predict might happen? Have a pause here, have a chat with somebody, or have a think in your head. Why do you think it might be called The Worst Witch? Now, when I was thinking about why it might be called The Worst Witch, I was thinking about the meaning worst. And worst generally is associated with something really bad. So I wondered if this witch maybe isn't a very good witch. Maybe she's not very good at doing magic. Let's read the extract and see if we can find out. Chapter 1. Miss Cackle's Academy for Witches stood at the top of a high mountain surrounded by a pine forest. It looked more like a prison than a school, with its gloomy grey walls and turrets. Sometimes you could see the pupils on their broomsticks flitting like bats above the playground wall, but usually the place was half hidden in mist, so that if you had glanced up at the mountain, you would probably not have noticed the building was there at all. Oh, the author's used some lovely description there. They've given me the impression that this building is hidden. They probably don't want people to know that the witches are there. And when they've used that lovely simile that they were on their broomsticks flitting like bats above the playground, that's given me a really lovely image in my head of these witches flying around on their broomsticks. And as they look like bats, I'm imagining they're probably wearing some black clothes as well. Everything about the school was dark and shadowy. There were long, narrow corridors and winding staircases, and of course, there were the girls themselves, dressed in black gym slips, black stockings, black hobnailed boots, grey shirts, and black and grey ties. Ah, there we go, so they are wearing a lot of black. Even their summer dresses were black and grey checked. The only touches of colour were the sashes around their gym slips, a different colour for each house, and the school badge, which was a black cat sitting on a yellow moon. For special occasions, such as prize giving or Halloween, there was another uniform, consisting of a long robe worn with a tall pointed hat. But as these were black too, it didn't really make much of a change. I'm wondering in my head at the minute why they might have an all-black uniform. There were so many rules that you couldn't do anything without being told off, and there seemed to be tests and exams every week. Mildred Hubble was in her first year at the school. She was one of those people who always seemed to be in trouble. Oh, now this story is called The Worst Witch, and they're talking about this Mildred Hubble who was always in trouble. I'm wondering if maybe she might be the worst witch. She didn't exactly mean to break rules and annoy the teachers, but things just seemed to happen whenever she was around. You could rely on Mildred to have her hat on back to front, or her bootlaces trailing along the floor. She couldn't walk from one end of a corridor to the other without someone yelling at her, and nearly every night she was writing lines or being kept in. Not that there was anywhere to go if you were allowed out. Anyway, she had lots of friends, even if they did keep their distance in the potion laboratory, and her best friend Maud stayed loyally by her for everything, however hair-raising. Well, I'm thinking if she's the worst witch, maybe that's why her friends might stay away from her in the potion laboratory. Maybe they're a bit worried about what she might be creating. They made a funny pair, for Mildred was tall and thin, with long plaits, which she often chewed absent-mindedly. Another thing she was told off about. While Maud was short and tubby, had round glasses, and wore her hair in bunches. On her first day at the academy, each pupil was given a broomstick and taught to ride it, which takes quite a long time and isn't nearly as easy as it looks. Halfway through the first term, they were each presented with a black kitten, which they trained to ride the broomsticks. The cats weren't for any practical purpose, except to keep tradition going. Some schools present owls instead, but it's just a matter of taste. Miss Cackle was a very traditional headmistress who did not believe in any newfangled nonsense and trained her young witches to keep up all the customs that had been taught in her younger day. She's been very old-fashioned, this Miss Cackle. I'm not sure that she's going to be a very nice character at the minute. At the end of the first year, each pupil received a copy of the popular Book of Spells, a 3-inch thick volume bound in black leather. This was not really to be used, as they already had a paper edition to the classroom. But, like the cats, it was another piece of tradition. Apart from yearly prize giving, there were no more presentations until the 5th and final year, when most pupils were awarded the Witch's Higher Certificate. It did not seem likely that Mildred would ever get that far. Oh, I'm thinking at the minute that maybe I was right. Maybe she is the worst witch because she's just not very good at being a witch. After only 2 days at school, she crashed her broomstick into the yard wall, breaking the broomstick in half and bending her hat. She mended the stick with glue and sticky tape, and fortunately, it still flew, though there was an ugly bundle where the ends joined, and sometimes it was rather difficult to control. Well, I'm not surprised it's rather difficult to control. She's glued it and sticky taped it together. It doesn't seem like a way a witch would fix their broomstick. This story really begins halfway through Mildred's first term, on the night before the presentation of the kittens. It was almost midnight, and the school was in darkness, except for one narrow window lit softly by the glow of a candle. This was Mildred's room, where she was sitting in bed, wearing a pair of black and grey striped pyjamas, and dropping off to sleep every few minutes. Maud was curled up on the end of the bed, enveloped in a grey flannel nightdress and a black woolen shawl. Oh, I'm wondering what that word enveloped means here. If she's enveloped in a grey flannel nightdress, well, to me that sounds like maybe she's covered in it. She's completely surrounded by it. Sounds nice and cosy. Each pupil had the same type of room. Very simple, with a wardrobe, iron bedstead, table and chair, and a slit window like the ones used by archers in castles of long ago. Well, I know that an archer is somebody who used to shoot a bow and arrow, and they used to have these very thin windows that they could just fit the arrow through. There was a picture rail along the bare walls from which hung a sampler embroidered with a quotation from the Book of Spells, and also, during the day, several bats. Mildred had 3 bats in her room, little furry ones, which were very friendly. She was fond of animals, and was looking forward to the next day, when she would have a kitten of her own. Everyone was very excited about the presentation, and they had all spent the evening ironing their best robes and pushing the dents out of their best hats. Maud was too excited to sleep, so had sneaked into Mildred's room to talk about it with her friend. Or if it says she sneaked into her room, that implies to me that maybe Maud shouldn't be in there. If you'd like to read the rest of the extract by yourself, see what happens next, and then when you are done, you can go back onto the PowerPoint, which again has got lots of different questions for you. So it starts with a vocabulary check. We've spoken already about a few of the words that I was thinking about as I was reading the text. Then there are the quick start questions. So remember, these are your retrieval questions. That's where the answer is in the text. We just have to be detectives and find it. After that, there are a few different types of questions. So have a careful read of these and see if you can write in full sentences your answers for me. When you are done, it would be brilliant if you could send those across to your teacher and we will have a mark of them to see how you've got on. Look forward to seeing how you get on.